Started here. We all should have been prompted that this meeting is being recorded. We all should have, everybody at least online, has to acknowledge that at this point. My name is Ray Melendez. I will serve you today as Sergeant at Arms and along with another role. I forgot which one it was. As we get started, I'll ask everybody to mute your phones, mute yourself, and as others speak, and keep yourself muted. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, before we get this thing started, I will pass this meeting over to Toastmaster Sonia Karate.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ray, and good evening, everyone. I am honored to be filling in for our president tonight, Shay, who will be with us later on. So do we have any guests on site tonight? No? Okay. So it is my pleasure to get the meeting started. And first, I'd like to say why we're here tonight. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning experience in which every member has the opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. Our theme tonight, chosen by our Toastmaster, is Life is Better Together. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our Toastmaster of the evening, Toastmaster Justin Quinn.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to be here today. It's nice to see some faces here on site. Wish you all can join us as well, because life's better together. You should all be here. I would love to see you all again here one day. I look forward to that day when everybody's back here with us here in our meeting space. But it's nice to see you guys that are here with us today. But it's always the same faces. We'd love to see some of your guys' faces here as well. Well, thank you all for joining us here today. Thank you all for those who just recently picked up a few extra roles. We appreciate the support from everybody. We're going to get started off today. And if we could all please mute. If you're not speaking, please be on mute. We appreciate that. All right, well, let's get started off today with our invocation. Actually, we're going to get started off with that. Mr. Josh Stewart is going to share us invocation.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and no guests. But I was in the process of reading this book called Excuses Be Gone, and I wanted to share a quote from the book that I thought was very thoughtful. It says, "It is the act of an ill-instructed man to blame others for his own bad condition. It is the act of one who has begun to be instructed to lay the blame on himself, and of one whose instruction is completed neither to blame another nor himself." So I just thought that was a very thoughtful part of the book, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Mr. Shastri. Okay, today I serve as your Toastmaster of the day. And as we all know, because there are no guests, we will have our traditional 3 sections: formal speeches, table topics, and evaluations. Again, I strongly encourage everyone to share in the chat, or I'm not sure how you would share with us here necessarily from us to you, but please do share with everyone any feedback or any comments that you have. Going through each of the roles, we're going to start it off first with our All-Counter and Grammarian dual role for today. Mr. Yes, sir. Yeah.
is we had talked about before having the participants there at the meeting have at least their cell phone. That way our screen looks a little more complete as we get going. I know everybody here is familiar, but I'm just wondering, did we do away with that idea?
No, I'm about to actually log on. I'm just I'm using my phone here as a dual thing here to
Yeah, we just look a little more complete when more of the boxes are filled for the people on Zoom. At the meeting, you won't notice it as much, but on Zoom, it's like there's one person at the meeting instead of 4 which are there. And that's the only beauty to it. They do have to keep their speaker on mute so we don't get feedback though.
Right, yeah, maybe that's something we can talk about going forward on how we deal with the hybrid meetings. Actually, myself and Micheline, earlier this week, or was it last week? Can't recall. There was a district meeting on how to run hybrid meetings. I had a lot of good takeaways from that. I'm assuming Micheline did as well. And I thought it was a really good, lots of good comments going back and forth, lots of good questions and things to think about really as we try to do these hybrid meetings and if we continue to try to do these hybrid meetings. So I think there's a lot of things that we're still kind of working out, you know, Jack and everybody. And I think that's something we can talk about going forward on what works best and move on from there. But until then, you know, we're still kind of playing with a few things, I think. Great. Well, again, we're going to go back to talking about the roles for today, and our off counter and grammarian dual role will be covered today by Michelle. Michelle, can you please explain your roles?
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. One benefit of Toastmaster is that it helps people improve their grammar and word use. Are you getting feedback from me? Oh. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Much better.
Being grammarian provides an exercise in expanding listening skills. I have several responsibilities to introduce new words to members, to comment on the language used during the course of the meeting, and to provide examples of eloquence. The word of the day is congruence. Congruence, agreement or harmony, compatibility. In a sentence, the results show quite good congruence with recent study. Synonyms, accord, harmony. Antonyms, conflict, disagreement. I encourage anyone speaking during any part of the meeting to use congruence, our word of the day. Additionally, I would also be the counter during the meeting, and I will be ringing my bell for each deflection, each double start. And it will help us release ourselves from these crutch-worthy items such as ums, double starts. Those words are considered inappropriate interjections. Toastmaster of the day.
Yes, Michelle. I think I already used my 3 ums and ahs, so put that away from me. Okay, moving on. Toastmaster Micheline Nimbard, please explain your role as general timer.
Certainly, Toastmaster Day. I'm responsible for monitoring the time for each part of the meeting. I will operate the timing signals indicated by the speech length. Timing begins when the first definite verbal or nonverbal communication with the audience. As a general timer, whomever is speaking and has control of the meeting, please pay attention to the red signal. As this means you get to wrap up where you are as quickly as professionally and efficiently as possible. Thank you, Toastmaster Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Micheline. Toastmaster Sonia Garate, please explain your role as General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. This role is basically the quality control manager, and I will be looking to see that each role and each person works in congruence so that we can have a successful meeting tonight. Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sonia. Toastmaster Ray Melendez, please explain your role as Table Topics Master.
Toastmaster Justin, the table topic master, gives members who are not assigned a significant speaking role the opportunity to speak during this meeting. And we are lucky today because we're all gonna probably get something to talk about. I challenge each member with a subject and their response was 1 to 2 minutes impromptu talk. And up to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ray. Okay, our first section of today will be our formal speeches. Today we have the pleasure of having two amazing speakers, Jack Miller and Gary Newper. But we're going to first start out with Jack as our first speaker and Toastmaster Micheline. I'm not sure if you have his project stuff yet. You can just shake your head no if you don't, and that's okay.
I can wing it.
All right, go for it.
I have the pleasure of evaluating Jack Miller. He is going to be talking about leadership and disruptive philosophy. I'm assuming his speech will be 5 to 7 minutes in length, and Jack will display what it is all about leadership and disruptive philosophy. So I welcome Jack. Thank you.
Before we hand it over to Jack, timer, can you please demonstrate the timing signals for both of our speeches tonight?
My pleasure. At 5 minutes, I will show the green card. And at 6 minutes, I will show the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, I will show the red card. And at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I will clap off the speaker. Thank you, Toastmaster Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Micheline. So yes, Jack tonight will be speaking on leadership and disruptive philosophy. Jack has spent thousands of hours gathering viewpoints with hopes of expressing his talent of being able to give a simple but deep understanding on the great questions of life. Today, we will get a glimmer of how his plans to plant the seeds that will revolutionize life on this planet. Wow, I can't wait for this. Please welcome Mr. Jack Miller.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and unseen guest. It's my pleasure today to talk to you about something I've been playing with for quite a while. In fact, it was within Toastmasters after the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School that I started thinking about the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms under a well-regulated militia. And I realized that word rights gets bandied around as if God himself had ordained that right. And the word regulation almost never gets spoken of. Yet when I think about this word, these two words, I realize that in order to get a clear viewpoint about any subject, you need 3 legs, 3 stools. 3 legs on a stool is the minimum that will keep that stool up. In order to get a proper view, we need a third word. So in thinking about that third word, it jumped out very, very clearly. That word was responsibility. That's a difficult word, yet it's such a unique word because only humans can have responsibility. Probably angels as well, but none of the animal kingdom can ever be held responsible for what they do. Yet we as humans are responsible. And we're in a very unique place in history right now. Throughout the past million years of history, things didn't change very much at all. animals evolved, plants evolved, and it was a slow evolutionary process. But over the course of the past 150 years, we've seen population go from approximately 1 million to almost a billion to almost 8 billion. And we're beginning to see the repercussions of that change. The repercussions meaning the acidification of our oceans, the incongruence of our harmony with the planet. In the past, we never thought we could do anything that can harm the planet, but there weren't 8 billion of us making little tiny efforts each day. That little bit of trash we throw away times 8 billion. Can you imagine how many straws a pile of 8 billion straws would be? How big that would be? That number 8 billion is a number that we can't even wrap our heads around. You realize it takes 72 years to count to 1 billion? It's a number that is so high, we tend to talk about it as if it doesn't really matter. And we are definitely responsible. We need to be responsible. These 3 words, rights, responsibilities, and regulations, they're the foundations of democracy, the structure of liberty, and the essence of justice. My path is on leadership. And in trying to understand leadership, we have to put values, beliefs, characteristics. These are all factors in leadership. But they really come down to that word responsibility, that we need to be responsible for our own actions. And then help in our group reactions and how we congruently work together to make good things happen. I mentioned 150 years ago in the population. Well, at that point, there was no electricity. We don't want to go back to no electricity. There's none of us that doesn't love electricity. None of us that don't appreciate being able to get up and fly, to drive your car, to have air conditioning, all of the wonderful things that modern society is bringing us. However, there's a responsibility that comes with it. Our forefathers, just a couple generations ago, never had things that we take for granted. The ability to talk to someone on the other side of the world at a moment's notice, to understand facts about anything that's going on in the world right now, to make changes in lifestyle at a moment's notice. That's why I've come up with what I like to call 3 R's for change. And I just recently started really writing the book, spending some time every single day. 3 R's for change, when incorporated, will become the most disruptive technology to change governments, institutions, and the way we live. When we start putting algorithms to the word rights, responsibilities, and regulations, we can begin to look at these words in a whole new light. We can start to see how the effects of one affect the many, and how little things that government does, that institutions do, that regulators do, affect our rights. We don't have any rights. We tend to think of rights as inalienable rights, but in nature, there are no rights. A hungry tiger, you're just food, nothing more than that. And when we realize that, we start to look at rights as privileges, because that's what they really are. And when you have a privilege like driving a car, that privilege can be taken away by the regulators. When you're responsible, you get to keep on having that privilege. So we need to start looking at rights, responsibilities, and regulations in a whole new way. When they're put into an algorithm, and more importantly, I'm looking at a political action committee, when they're discussed as part of political platforms, as part of the way government runs, institutions run, family runs. Everybody's a regulator at one time or another. If you're a 5-year-old and you got a 3-year-old sister, you're a regulator to that 3-year-old. But everybody else around you is a regulator to you. We all need to take responsibility for our right to be a regulator. This isn't going to come easy. Some people are really going to object to some of the things I have to say. That's what disruptive philosophies are all about. When we start to change the way things work, Facebook changed the world radically in the way we communicate. Cell phones, computers, the space industry that we're stepping into. Life is changing at a very rapid speed. We need to be part of that change. If we want to be congruent with congruous and congruent, I guess I'm having a little bit of time playing with those two words. We need to work together in harmony.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jack Miller. I love your passion for that topic. You've spoken on 3 R's for Change before, and every time that you do, we can always see and feel your passion come out. And really enjoy hearing about you. You and I have spoken directly about some of these things as well. So love that speech. Thanks so much, Jack, for sharing. It'd be very interesting to contrast that with our next speech on artificial intelligence. You know, we're going to go from plants and response, environment to AI maybe, and maybe the responsibilities AI can take away from us. I don't know. We're about to hear from Gary though. It's going to be amazing. But before we do, we're going to bring up Shastri up here, and he's going to give us the project information for Gary's.
All right, awesome. All right, so Gary will be speaking from his Pathway Innovative Planning. This is a 5 to 7 minute speech using presentation software. The purpose of the project is to introduce or review basic presentation software strategies for creating and using slides to support or enhance your speech.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shastri. Gary's speech is on artificial intelligence, as I mentioned. For those of you who have watched movies such as I, Robot or The Terminator, you might have a bit of biased opinion regarding artificial intelligence and its usefulness to us as humans. Tonight, Gary will be sharing some helpful information about this innovative field that will enable you to identify and appreciate how it can benefit us. Without further ado, I welcome Gary.
Thank you, Toastmaster Justin. You should all be seeing my screen. I get a nod.
Yes.
Yes.
Alexa, turn off the lights. Alexa, turn the temperature to 75 degrees. Alexa, play music by Coldplay. Unless you live in a very remote area or under a rock and have no intention of any involvement with the modern world, you will have a lot of interaction with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is continually evolving, and there will be a lot of new learning experiences and challenges for all of us along this journey with artificial intelligence and as the world develops. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. This evening, I would like to share some more information about artificial intelligence with each of you. So your first question might be, well, why should I care about artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is not here to replace us. So let's get that clear. A lot of people have this fear that artificial intelligence will take over the world and take away all our jobs. That is simply not true. One of the things that it is here to do and why you should care is it's here to eliminate the need for humans to perform tedious and repetitive tasks. I think you've probably seen the machines in factories stamping out the same process in a very repetitive fashion. I think none of us desire to be doing that manually. So that's one example of how it's really benefiting us as humans. Artificial intelligence can enhance the speed, precision, and effectiveness of the human efforts. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of data manipulation or have some experience with trying to get things figured out in a spreadsheet with some data. Artificial intelligence can really help simplify and speed up that process. Artificial intelligence creates new jobs, can improve our healthcare, and increases safety. For example, managing the traffic lights at an intersection and determining the best traffic patterns for that. We'll get into some more examples in one of the future slides. Most importantly, though, is artificial intelligence allows us as humans to focus on the things that we are really good at, and that is creativity and empathy. So you may be asking, well, that's great. What is artificial intelligence? Simply put, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes such as learning and problem solving by machines, and particularly by computer systems. It is not necessarily your robot like you see in iRobot or Terminator, although who knows where we'll get to in the future. So, what are some examples of artificial intelligence? In my introduction, I used the example of Alexa. Some of us have Alexa in our homes. Some of us use Siri on our iPhones. And for those Android fans, hey Google. Roomba vacuum cleaners are another great example of artificial intelligence. We have a Roomba vacuum cleaner that makes things so much simpler cleaning up the house. With having 3 cats and a dog, you can't imagine the amount of hair that gathers in a single day. And it's as simple as saying, Alexa, ask Roomba to clean. And Roomba goes off, cleans the house, and empties itself afterwards, recharges its battery, and is ready for the next day. It is pretty amazing watching the intelligence in the simple robotic vacuum cleaner and watching how it navigates its way through our house, as well as avoiding running down the stairs. We've all seen Teslas around on the roads. A lot of you may or may not know, but Teslas have self-driving features built into it. Well, the higher end models anyway. But in the future, we'll all be driving self-driving cars. Imagine that hour commute where you no longer have to be worried about bumping into the person in front of you. You can sit back in your car and read a book or do some work. Analyzing radiographs. Artificial intelligence analyzes radiographs and mammograms 30 times faster than humans, and with a 99% accuracy. Fraud detection. I work at a bank. Artificial intelligence is a very critical part of detecting fraudulent transactions in the banking system, and this will become more and more prevalent. I'm sure all of you shop on Amazon or use Netflix or YouTube. There's not some person in the background saying, oh, I think Justin would like to watch this movie next. That is all based on artificial intelligence, using the patterns of what movies and series Justin likes to watch to present him with recommendations for his next movie marathon. I think a lot of you, well, I know we have some members that are not on social media, but for those that are, when you upload a picture, with a group of friends, Facebook's really good at suggesting, is that Ray in the picture? Would you like to tag Shastri? Again, that's artificial intelligence that has detected what Shastri and what Ray's face looks like from other pictures that they've been tagged in, so that when a new picture is uploaded to Facebook, the system can make that recommendation and identify, this looks like Ray. Data entry and optical character recognition. This is another area where in the past, it's been a very manual, labor-intensive, tedious process of typing in page after page of data. This is something that a lot of the medical industry has, where it's all your claims that get sent for processing. Artificial intelligence can read what's on that document and input it into the system without someone having to sit and type out all the boring details. So, I think from chatting through some of the examples, you'll realize that there are a lot of advantages with artificial intelligence. We've spoken about good at detail-oriented jobs. I see I jumped to red. So, in conclusion, do not be afraid of AI. It is here to stay, and it's here to make our lives better. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Sorry, I got caught up.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gary. Yes, very interesting what AI can do these days. It's more, I think, a matter of not what it can and can't do, but are we willing to let it do that for us? There's always going to be the nostalgia of driving a 1957 Chevy convertible, so there's going to be some differences there as we go forward. It'll be interesting to see how that happens. Okay, timer. Can I please have a timers report on our two speakers?
Both speakers were within time. The timer was doing her job. Sorry, Gary.
It's okay.
Thank you, Toastmaster Micheline. Okay. Second section of our meeting today will be table topics, opportunities for members to develop their extemporaneous speaking skills. We not only encourage tonight, but pretty much going to be required. Everybody's at stake here. So whether you spoke, whether you're evaluating, whether you're whatever role you are, Ray is likely going to call on you at some point. Please welcome our table topics master, Toastmaster Ray London.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay. Toastmaster Justin, I gotta get some reading. Let's see here. It's time to get super present and focused now. And I will be calling you as I have shown to the topic. Sorry. The table topic reflects the theme of the meeting. The theme of today's meeting, is life is better together. Please use the word of the week, as well as any other words that you can recall from prior meetings. Our word of the week is congruence. Well, let's proceed to table topics. Let's actually, Timer, can we show the timing signals for table topics, please?
Sure, topic master. I will show the green card at 1 minute and red card at 2 minutes, and clap the speaker off at 2 minutes and 31 seconds.
Thank you. For our first one, with a little help from my friends was a song released by the Beatles in 1967. When I say I get by with a little help from my friends, tell us what comes to mind. With a little help from my friends was a song released by the Beatles in 1967. When I say I get by with a little help from my friends, what comes to mind? Toastmaster Justin.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ray. I get by with a little help from my friends. Yeah, right? I get by with a little help from my friends. I think we all get by with a little help from our friends, right? I mean, we can't do life alone. Life's not fun alone. You can always reach out and get help from your friends. You know, they say 2 heads are better than 1. 4 eyes are better than 2. You know, these types of things, they are common quotes that we become used to, but it really holds true about getting some help from your friends. Oftentimes there's things around the house that I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to do a project around the house or something like that, I'm trying to do it by myself as much as I can, and watch some kids are doing something else. This past weekend, I was trying to clean out the carpet from our rug. So I had this massive, huge rug, spraying it all off, you get water on the rug. And by the time you get the water on the rug, you can't carry it by yourself. My neighbor's walking by, hey, man, hey, what you doing? Oh, just cleaning my rug. Hey, you know what? Can you help me out? Because I gotta move this thing and it's super heavy right now. So you get by with a little help from your friends. You can't do it alone. You can't do life alone. Life is much easier to do together, which is why we're here today. Back to you, Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Justin. I'm about to sing a song. In case anybody did not remember. The friendships we choose to build are a reflection of who we are. The friendships we choose to build are a reflection of who we are. Tell us whether you agree or disagree and why. Toastmaster Michelle.
Friendships are important, but it can lead you down a road with no return. Quite recently, I had the opportunity of speaking to a young man who is right now in prison. Reason being, he chose to leave his school and go hang out with some friends and got 3 consecutive life sentences. When I thought about friendships in relation to being a congruent group of people that seek personal development, I did not find that friendship mirrored anything that was good. Unbeknown to him, the gentleman who he befriended had other intentions. So sometimes you might be the person that would love to have friends and have this congruence and have this harmonious group of people going around, but not all friends are good friends. And like my mom always say, friends can lead you, but they may not bring you back. Toastmaster of the day.
For the third one, when we say the theme of the day, life is better together, who is the first person that comes to your mind and why? When we say the theme of the day, life is better together, who is the first person that comes to your mind and why? Toastmaster Sonia.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. Life is better together. When I first saw that as our theme tonight, I thought it was completely appropriate, especially at our time, because now we realize how much we need each other. The first person that came to mind for me was not really one person, but everyone in general. What I have realized is that being at home in quarantine and spending time mostly with my family and with a very small group, we need each other and it makes life better. And what I've realized is the small interactions that we have during the day really make a difference. That small chat you might have with a cashier as you are buying your groceries, it impacts your day, sometimes in a positive way, or even if it's not positive, it informs you about something. That small chat Justin had with his neighbor, it's impactful, in his case, very positive. So we need each other. And when I thought of that phrase, I thought of everyone in general, in my world and further out, who I need in my life and who I hope I can impact positively. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sonia. Number 4. Let's see here. When it comes to getting something done, whether it's work or personal related, why is 2 better than 1? When it comes to getting something done, work or personal related, why is 2 better than 1? Toastmaster Jack.
Jesus told us real clearly, wherever 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. So there's a power in group think and being congruence where we have that extra mind power that goes with us. The idea, the biblical idea Solomon talked about, you can break one stick real easily, but group a few sticks together and they become stronger in every way. When 2 people are together, they feed off each other. Additionally, they may have a viewpoint and not see clearly what another idea might bring. So when you've got a couple of people, the ability to change a viewpoint is so critically important. I've often said that to me, viewpoint is the most important word in the English language because we only get a viewpoint from a perspective. When we are left to rely on our own viewpoints and not see that of others, other possibilities, we become very, very limited, myopic in our thinking. So having someone else in your life, in your business, in whatever you do to banning about a viewpoint is extremely important to get a great side. Because with 2, you can't stand a stool. With 3, you get that other PowerPoint. And really, whenever 2 are gathered, that creates a 3rd leg in the stool. I'm complete.
Yeah. Good answers here. Let's see, since we only have 2 evaluations, I have to finish this list up today. What makes you want or not want to maintain a friendship? What makes you want or not want to maintain a friendship? With Mr. Gary.
Thank you, Table Topics, Master Ray. I think to me, one of the biggest things is a person's attitude. If I'm hanging out with someone and all they talk about the entire time is how negative everything is, I don't want to spend another minute with them. There's nothing more draining than a negative person. I enjoy chasing different goals and ambitions. So being able to have a friend or have a conversation with someone that's also ambitious and chasing goals and has some purpose in life is something that would draw me to a person and I'd want to be friends with them. There are a lot of people that, and that's none of us here because we're taking time out of our day to work on self-improvement and work on leadership and work on speaking. But so many people in the world are just happy to go about doing the same thing day after day for 40 years and then sit at home and watch the Antique Roadshow. Not that I have anything against Antique Roadshow. But you get my point. I think having someone that's positive and driven and has a zest for life would be someone that I really want to be friends with. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Toastmasters.
Gary, I think that should be the last one. I'm running up over.
We only have 2 evaluations today. Do we
I think
wanna
we're
do
already
one more?
4 minutes over of your time on table topics.
Okay,
Then-
all right, then I'll pass it back to you, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Toastmaster Ray. Much appreciated. Great questions, great checks. Ray, are you gonna be posting up the,
Yes.
you guess so? Unless somebody else can, not sure. Ray's gonna start working on that. While he does that, we're gonna move on to the third section of our meeting, evaluations that give instant feedback. Without further ado, please welcome our general evaluator, the great Sonia Grotzen.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. And I will get right to it. Our first evaluator for our first speaker, please welcome Toastmaster Micheline. And Micheline, I will time you. as
Thank you. Thank you.
Give me 1 second before you get started, please, and I'll tell you when you can go. Okay.
Thank you all. And thank you, Jack. I must say, Jack, every time you deliver the speech, it gets better and better and better. And this time you surprised us. You came at a different angle. You started off with responsibility. I heard the 3 R's, but you focused on the word responsibility. And you included the entire audience about responsibility. After a while, I was like, oh yeah, we are responsible for everything that we do. And thanks for reminding us on that. Rights, it's a privilege. We understand that. But you shocked me when you said regulators. An older sister or older sibling is a regulator of a younger sibling. I never thought about my kids. I'm a regulator, but I thought you said that. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I got that. I'm the regulator in my house. So all of us are regulators. So thank you for bringing that in the forefront today. And you spoke about rights a little, but one area I think that you could have worked on, because the title of your speech is Leadership and Disruptive Philosophy. You spoke about all the good things, but I didn't really hear about anything about disruption. And I think if you can share, if you were able to share some of the disruption, if we don't stick to the 3 R's, I think your message would have been more powerful. But again, you went through it and you spoke about the rights, the regulation, and the responsibility. And anything that we do, we have the responsibility to make it better. As anything in our neighborhood and anything that we do, if we think about it, if we remember these 3 R's, I think we can be an effective community, learning to support each other in every area of our life. And it goes along with the theme, we are better together. So thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Toastmaster Micheline. And as you can see, you were within time. Welcoming our second evaluator, evaluating our second speaker, please welcome Toastmaster Shastri Stewart.
Just move it a little bit. All right, good evening, fellow Toastmasters. And obviously we don't have any guests, but especially Gary. Now, I want to focus on 3 things for your speech: organization, content, and mechanics in body language. So obviously you had a clear intro. Alexa, turn on the lights. And you asked a few other questions. So I thought that was very effective to grab in the audience attention. Very good, very well done. Your content was superb. Your PowerPoint was powerful and on point. A lot of detailed information you had on there. I also love the graphic that you used with the artificial intelligence and the wires and the electricity and all that. I thought that was very clever to tie it into your speech topic. You also provided examples of artificial intelligence. I know a lot of people, me included, sometimes are fearful of artificial intelligence, but the way that you spoke about the topic, you really calmed my fears. Because I thought that in 2050, AI is going to take over and we'll be done, you know, but you explained clearly how that is not possible and how artificial intelligence is going to benefit us in the future by really creating automation and reducing mundane tasks from people's lives where they could really experience different things and be more creative. So awesome job with that. In regards to your body language, you had an open body posture, very welcoming. You had eye contact, you look around the room. Obviously, we can't really look around on Zoom, but in the room, you did provide very clear eye contact. Your tone, I thought today was very, very confident. Usually when you do a presentation, it's a little bit flat, but today I thought it was very, very confident and I saw improvement. The only thing that I would mention for improvement is that I was on the edge of my seat and I wanted to hear more, but I felt like you ran out of time a little bit and I really wanted to hear more. And I felt like you had a lot of information, maybe a 5 to 7 minute speech is not enough for the content that you have. That is my only suggestion that I would provide. All in all, I did see a lot of improvement and hoping to hear you speak again. Thank you, Gary. Back to you, Sonia.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shastri. Wonderful evaluations. Now at this time, I would like to call our combination grammarian and art counters report. Toastmaster Michelle.
Thank you, General Evaluator. The number of fillers that were used today were approximately 11. The following Toastmasters had no fillers while speaking: Jack Miller, Sonia Garate, Gary Nooper, Michelle Nemhard, and Ray Melendez. The Toastmaster that won the most filler words was Gary Nooper. Not Gary. Is it Gary? I'm sorry. Our Toastmaster of the day. I'm sorry, not Gary. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're talking about me. Yes. I win again. Yay.
The word of the day, congruence. That word was used a total of 6 times, and it was done perfectly. It was used appropriately. Notable phrases I found mostly in Jack Miller's speech were acidification of the ocean, rights, regulations, and responsibility at the foundation of democracy, disruptive technology. Toastmaster of the day, it was my pleasure to serve both grammarian and art counter for the day. Thank you, General Evaluator. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Michelle, for doing your combination rules. So now I get to give my evaluation. And today, since we are such a small group, I get to be very detailed and very specific. And we began our meeting on time. Thank you, Ray, for starting us. Even though we were chatting on the side, you jumped in and you began the meeting. So thank you for that. Justin, you did wonderful as Toastmaster of the Day, especially leading transitions. What I'd like to remind you of is when you do transition, you don't want to use your favorite transition, which you know what it is, right? Without further ado.
Oh,
So
okay.
that one, try not to overuse it because you can lead over without using the same one to make it a bit more specific. Also, Micheline, thank you for picking up the role last minute, Michelle as well, and for all of us who just stepped in to make the meeting work. One thing I would say is when we know we have only 2 speakers, we can adjust our time a bit for table topics so we could give us some more time and make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. That goes to you, Woodland. We see you there. I was hoping I would hear you do a table topics tonight. Also for the evaluators, very thorough, and I heard you listening. When we do give feedback, I would say it's important not to use the word usually and always or never. So when we give feedback, we don't want to say you usually do this or you never do this. It's not completely absolute. We want to make sure we focus on the speech that we're hearing and evaluating at that moment. Also, Michelle, good job doing the combo. I think it's your first time doing 2 roles at once, so congrats to that. When you give your report, you completely answer the questions, but you did add an answer that's not there, which is to mention who gave the most fillers. So we don't say that, we say who didn't use fillers, but then we leave that and we could put that in the chat or we could speak to them if we're on site. And so tonight, I would say that we had a great meeting, even though it was small. And I am really proud that we jumped in and it felt like a very informative meeting, even though most of us stepped in last minute. And that concludes my general evaluation report. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sonia. And it's okay, Michelle. Everybody knows who won the most odd counter thing. It can be said, it can be not said. It's perfectly fine. I'm not done yet either, so here I am. And Toastmaster Ray is going to get going with the voting. So we're going to get that going here sometime soon.
This computer is a host.
This is launch the polls for first place and almost future.
Here's some additional votes. Toastmaster Ray.
Ending in 3, 2, 1. Well, let's go to first place for table topics. Launching polls. Ending in 3, 2, 1. And now we will launch our polls for best evaluator. Ending in 3, 2, 1. And since I'm gonna read us the polls here by hand.
You just got to add those to the other ones, obviously.
Oh, of course.
This is a hybrid voting too.
In first place for formal speaker, give a round of applause to Mr. Jack Miller. First place for table topics today. Give a round of applause for Michelle Gonzalez. And in first place for Evaluator. Show here. Give a round of applause for Mr. Shastri Stewart. Back to you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ray. What do I do with this thing? Fix it. Okay. Yes, thank you, Toastmaster Ray. Put that one on my tally as well. I just heard myself do it. And also a special thank you for those of you who haven't joined us here yet in a hybrid meeting. You got to see the stuff that we got to do here. And it's all done really by these gentlemen here, Gary and Ray. So please round of applause for these guys for doing that every single time, making sure that everything works. We're still working with it to try to get a congruence of what we're doing here together. But it is much appreciated. And as I said before, myself and Micheline, we had some good feedback that we received at the hybrid meeting, the district hybrid meeting. Yes. It was really good. There was lots of good points that were made, lots of good considerations. I think that's a call for another time. But certainly there's a lot of things that we should be considering in terms of hybrid meetings, how we run them, what we do. There's a lot of great tools that they had mentioned of other equipment to maybe use, how to set up things. I'm not sure if Micheline, you had any takeaways from that you wanted to share either.
Yes, absolutely. We have to think about it as a club. If we continue the hybrid meeting, we will be then serving others out of our community, out of Wellington. So we have to consider that, and that means that we will then be competing with people out of Wellington. So we are no longer going to be considered a local club. We will be considered a hybrid club. So we have to think about that. And also, there were more people who were thinking about the expense of having a hybrid club by purchasing several different devices and so forth, as well as making sure that we maintain a hybrid. There's going to be someone on site and there's going to be someone on Zoom. So those are things that we really have to consider, whether we want to go back in person or we want to have a hybrid. So those are the things we're going to have to really think as in the leadership. And I think as a club as a whole, what we want to do that will be best fit for us as a group.
Yeah, some good certainly thoughts. And you know, we're asking a lot of the folks here to be here and make sure they're here every time, make sure everything works every time. And that's a big commitment from them that we're asking from them as well. And we got to recognize and understand that. But certainly things that we will continue to think about. It was my honor today to serve as the Toastmaster of the day. I look forward to doing it again next week. Please go on and sign up again. But not only think about what you're going to be doing just next week, think about it, look at a couple weeks in advance. Take a look at your schedule. Are you going to be there? Are you not going to be there? What do you want to accomplish? And talk with your mentor about that and your mentees about that, and encourage them to go on and not just look, hey, 48 hours, okay, everybody's going to sign up for next week, but we're missing the long term in terms of what then after that, and thinking strategically about where we want to be and what we want to do. So I encourage everybody to not only just look at next week, but also think about the weeks in advance as well. I'm going to pass it over to Sonia or Shastri. Sonia's going to wrap us up. See you on this one.
Thank you.
And yes, I was going to say one more applause for our Toastmaster of the day, Justin Quinn.
Hey, great job, Justin.
Thank you so much, Justin. And thanks also for pointing out and reminding us to sign up on time. I know that I'm guilty of not doing that sometimes, so a reminder is always important and necessary. And Micheline and Justin, we would love to hear all that you shared about having the hybrid meeting. And I agree that it's definitely a club decision for us going forward. Really interesting points for us to discuss. Anybody has any announcements before we wrap up? So far? No?
I won't be at the meeting next week because it's my wife's birthday on Monday next week. That's our anniversary. So
Nice.
yeah.
Hey, congratulations.
Double whammy.
Yeah, okay.
That was good.
She gets one dinner.
Good idea.
So just to confirm, next week is completely online for us, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I don't have any nonsense in my back pocket right now, but it was wonderful to see you all tonight, and that concludes our meeting.
Thank you.
Sonia.
Good night. Bye,
Bye.
Jack. Bye, Woodland. We want to see your face.